Matt fails. Hey, you didn't really answer my video, but yeah, I got the information I wanted. I was gonna make another accent video, Matt fails. You didn't answer me. No, my videos were just for you. I don't normally make videos like that. But I decided against it. I searched to see if you had replied to me by name. And I saw a couple old videos, one rap song and then this one with the avatars, Pyro Frogs. I approve of that. That's awesome. I love the fact that I'm logging into a virtual world and I don't even log into a virtual world. That's great. In the spirit of the Pyro Frogs, that cross section. Awesome. I hope you're playing that character. Or someone is. And it made me think the fact you might not know. Like, here's a real world thing where you can just talk to me directly again. Because that's the thing, the character's okay, man, but let's face it. Joker's a prick. He didn't fucking answer me. Okay. But anyway, but most support. Okay. Anyway, so what you might not know, or I think I mentioned, but could easily, it's not been the point. I'm coming to a new stage in my channel, basically. Starting a new project, as a matter of fact, Pool Reflection. I'll talk about that later in a different video. But, I have a history, I have life besides this relativistic skepticism. I've limited it that because basically the way I remembered, I saw Matt, and I saw guys are talking philosophy on this thing. Just raw philosophy instead of just a high-level politics or antitrust law or various other things I've talked with people about over the years, taking part in this great public conversation. And so I focused on that. I developed it. I was able to name certain aspects in a way through the interaction with others to convey a better ideas I've had since my 20s, at least. Longer, but almost formed by then. That I've been just perfecting how to communicate in certain technical details. Seems like I'm way off topic. So anyway, part of this history of me is that I was a computer game programmer for years. And I started in online games, 1991, I believe it was, maybe two. Yeah, I guess 1992. So an online service, we had to use the network that ATMs used, the dial-up card swipers use. There was no public internet. And before I left there, the internet had been commercialized, and but that's another story. So anyway, I spent several years working on a virtual environment. Okay, and I've studied the original virtual environments, lessons from Habitat's an interesting thing you could probably still find online. And the fact that you're interested in these virtual environments, and I think virtual environments is training, because see, like Gary's idea of making a virtual environment where you could go be a Nazi if that's what you want to do, great. I'm sorry, I don't want to build that. I want to build a world where you go in and even if you're allowed to start that way, it will slowly do what I believe nature does, which is train you through the reaction to have a more healthy attitude about things. And healthy, this definition of healthy is slippery, but we could do better than Nazism, okay, as a definition for that. So, anyway, I've studied all these things. I studied AI. I spent 2 years making the AI server, and it was really fun because we followed certain AI principles. For one thing, these things didn't cheat. This AI, mostly, these AIs logged into the server just like users would and saw what users would. The only special message I remember is that they could teleport, some of them. If I wanted them to teleport, they were able to teleport. And I created a garbage robot that went around and picked up litter. I created a guy that could talk to you and give you a tour. He said, hey, what's going on around here? And he could give you a tour and detect that. There was a wizard that could fly. And it was a big, to scale, this city, it was called Cyberpark, I guess I could say. The city was about a quarter-mile across, and it had cul-de-sacs, 5 cul-de-sacs, and so that was really 10 areas, each cul-de-sac being major areas, and then the bars between the cul-de-sacs being, storefront places that could also, that had their own little neighborhood feel. We had this city, so it was sort of a science fiction thing overall, but each of the cul-de-sacs there was a mystery, and it all came together here. Like if you went to the world that was all ogres and things, there's a cul-de-sac that that those kinds of games and worlds were off of. It was really well designed with city planning and stuff. Now, the games I was designing were based on this behavior server, the artificial intelligence server, because I don't like the go around a corner, kill a monster. Ooh, get a new weapon. Go around the corner, kill a bigger monster. Ooh, get a new weapon. Boring. Okay, so my ideas were much better, and I was working in plot generation because this is the holy grail of this kind of computer game. The only games that had plots back in the 80s and 90s is adventure stories. You know, it's made manually. It takes years for someone to make something that you're going to play through in 40 hours. But it's worth doing it because of how many people will play it as a single game. Problem with online games, and this was from the Lessons of Habitat, they did something like this, made a campaign for 6 months. They thought it would take a long time to play out, and the people did it in a couple hours because of the network effect. So the only thing that we've really figured out, play style, game theory for massively multiplayer stuff, in the mainstream at least, of course, there's a lot of new stuff and interesting things out there, you know, promising things. But these main, you know, super graphical games is something where it doesn't matter if you have a network effect of knowledge. It's like, yes, people can tell you there's a lever somewhere to go get, but if that monster's too big for you, you still have a gate that keeps the player from running through too quickly. And that's a boring, cheap way to do it. So I was working in how do you create plot. So I was having certain plot scripting languages that you would write by hand, and the idea is eventually you go out to the network, to the internet, and you read vlogs and you mine communities and the replies for communities. See, I can mine YouTube, and when your username shows up a comment in my channel, in a virtual world, my channel can be you know, a house. And you putting a comment there means you came by for a visit. I can then use that in a behavior server to program an actual creature, related to you or not, to do this. And the overall behavior will have a human or intelligent, organic look to it. All right. Some of the games I devised were, for example, I wanted you to be able to have a murder mystery. And, you know, this was involved with AOL and various things. And, you know, I'd rather do it as the murder mystery. We did it where one of the non-player characters could be turned off. You know, let's say a serving robot. There were waiters, for example. You go and you turn off his power switch. He collapses. At that moment, that crime is attached to you, and you run for it, of course, and you are dropping clues. Other people can buy devices, magnifying glasses, various kinds of forensic kits, skills, that they can then use to trace that around. They can either keep your trail, or if they lose your trail, they might pick it up somewhere else because they're looking for your prints, and they have various ways to do that. And that's another way to generate plot, is that you put human beings on both sides of the equation. Another thing in the virtual world is we were going to have secret places where, for example, we'd had billboards in this world, and some of them you could hack into. You could go find the little hacking station, you could hack into it. And so there's a game there where people could hack into it. And I had a theory that in order to have these kinds of games and have people generate plots work for each other, you have to allow people to basically bug other people and tease them. You can't say that it all has to be totally smooth. You have to be able to mock, you have to be able to go down there, hack the system, and it says John's a noob. And you might stop him from cursing, you know, depending on the family level of the game. But we were also going to have a cyberpunk area where all the, you know, there would be no rules like that. But I also worked with these people later before my current focus, making something that would have at the time been an EverQuest killer, and that was going to be full-on cyberpunk, because the originator of this kind of like that genre wanted to explore that genre, underexplored. There's an awful lot of this medieval kind of sorcery stuff. So anyway, so yeah, what are your interests in that? You know, there's free software now that does 3D worlds and stuff. We're really close to being able to create an open source virtual environment. Maybe that's what you and I should work on. You have a lot of idea, persona. That's super important in that area. Role playing, you know, I go by Piro, right? I don't like people to know my real name. You, I think, have teased me about that before, and yet you use the persona as well. So which of us is more purely devoted to persona? And I present only my one. But anyway, not a challenge. But anyway, so the idea is maybe we should work on this. I've noticed some of the software is really ready for this kind of thing. You can start something like this with just a website that people go through, a dynamically generated website. You could make it so that it's a world database that eventually you can do a full 3D thing. And there's some, like I say, really good software. Okay, tell me what you think.